Hello, my name is Jeff Schramm, and I'm a senior project manager with Baltimore Gas and Electric. I'm currently in my third year in the Cary Business School's Flex MBA program, where my concentration is in leading organizations and entrepreneurship. For my crisis management plan, I focus on the Chernobyl nuclear crisis and the nuclear power industry in general. On April 26, 1986, plant operators at the Chernobyl nuclear power plant were in the process of implementing system tests when a number of serious and ultimately deadly mistakes were made. The mistakes made during the testing process resulted in the core meltdown of reactor number 4, subsequently causing a steam explosion and radioactive materials being released into the atmosphere. 2 plant workers were killed immediately, while at least 30 other responding operators and firefighters were killed within 3 months due to acute radiation exposure. In addition, the radiation exposure affected not only the entire town of Pripyat, but also the surrounding areas of Ukraine and large parts of Europe and Asia. Chernobyl is a prime example of a preventable crisis. So how could this have been handled differently? Well, first and foremost, the crisis could have been completely averted if the control room operators followed the safety protocols in place during the test. And while it was widely reported that the control room operators were inexperienced and not sufficiently trained, there was always the opportunity for them to stop work, place the controls in a safe condition, and alert plant supervision and management of the potential unstable condition the reactor could be placed in as a result of the test. But even as the eventual core meltdown and explosion of reactor number 4, another series of missteps were made, which ultimately put thousands of lives at risk due to the deadly radiation released into the atmosphere. Evacuation of the entire town of Pripyat should have happened immediately as opposed to waiting 36 hours after the accident. This extra time put thousands of lives in danger due to high radiation levels. For most crises at a nuclear power plant, here are a few general guidelines that can be followed, which are separated into 3 stages of the response plan. During the first stage of the crisis management team is mobilized and is assembled in a dedicated location. Once all the facts are gathered and the crisis management team has a good understanding of the nature of the crisis, they can move on to the middle stage. During the middle stage, and depending on the severity of the crisis, the CMT will engage plant personnel to monitor areas within the plant for any rise in radiation levels. This can also happen outside the plant and surrounding areas in the exclusion zones as well. In the event of a natural disaster, for example, where a loss of off-site power is experienced and the reactor is prohibited from safely shutting down due to lack of cooling water being able to be pumped through the core, evacuations may be necessary to protect the public. During the final stage, the crisis management team will assess the total damage, perform final evaluations for reporting, and review all applicable lessons learned. So in addition to the general response plan, here are a few guidelines to keep in mind when it comes to the general communication strategy. The Director of Communications Public Relations will act as the spokesman and act as the single point of contact for the media. The spokesman shall communicate in a crisp and expeditious manner with the media, always remain calm, maintain eye contact when interacting with others, and most importantly, always be open and honest regarding the ongoing crisis at the plant. The spokesman is also responsible for drafting all external communications to the applicable stakeholders. With regard to the spokesman's communication response, once all the facts are obtained from the crisis management team, communication to all internal stakeholders should not exceed 1 hour. And when it comes to the all applicable external stakeholders, communication response should not exceed 3 hours. Overall, I have really enjoyed this course. It has certainly helped me better understand all the critical aspects that go into properly planning for and dealing with an organizational crisis. Learning about the necessary steps required in each of these 3 response plan stages is an easy way to build a general framework for any crisis management plan. In my day-to-day job, I will be more prepared for a potential crisis and will use the concepts I learned in this course, not just in my present-day job, but throughout my career.